So, speaking of the Ottoman Empire, I just wanted to give you a quick breakdown. Now, this is one of the longest lasting empires in the entire history of the world, and it has a lot of fascinating aspects. We obviously do not have the time to go into that. I first want to draw your attention to this map, okay? So, as you can see, oops, I screwed up again. Ha ha ha. Okay, sorry, hold on, guys. Woohoo. As you can see, the Ottoman Empire it starts basically in what is modern day Turkey. The capital was Constantinople, which is now modern day Istanbul in Turkey. You can also see that the Ottoman Empire's reach went into Europe and even Greece, which lasts. You can talk to Mr. Pandidis about this. There's a lot of Turkish Greek animosity that goes back to this time period. Um, and this is what is Greece and other southeastern Europe going into Turkey. And then this is your Middle East. This is Damascus is Syria, Baghdad is Iraq, Jerusalem is Israel, going down into Mecca. They even controlled the Holy Land in part of the Arabian Empire, and even Egypt and northern Africa. That was when it was at its height. And you can see these dates down here kind of show you kind of when it expanded and contracted. By the time World War I began, the Ottoman Empire was not that large. It, in fact, basically it consisted of the Middle East and maybe a little bit of southeastern Europe. Okay. So something else about the Ottoman Empire, it's the only major Muslim empire that was dominated by Turks, not Arabs. Now, while Arabs basically were the majority in this whole region here, it was the Turks who conquered and dominated the area, and they were actually a minority ethnic group that dominated a majority ethnic group, the Arabs. It was a majority Muslim Sunni empire, so that was okay for most people. But as the second bullet says, it's based in modern day Turkey, controls much of the modern day Middle East. It was very multi-ethnic. So while the Arabs were the majority, the Turks were next, and then there were the Kurds and other ethnic groups that we've looked at before. It was also multi-religious. As I said, Sunni Muslim was the majority, but there were also Christians and Jews and other minority religions that existed in the empire. As I mentioned, it was one of the longest empires in history, but by World War I, it was in a steep decline. In fact, its nickname was the Sick Man of Europe. And while Ottoman Empire didn't have much land in Europe, it did have some up in southeastern Europe. And the last thing I'd like to say about the Ottoman Empire is that it was actually fairly tolerant. It let religious minorities kind of keep to themselves and govern themselves. So Christians and Jews were able to kind of govern themselves in small communities called millets. And it was, I'm not saying it was the perfect empire, but definitely they held it together by allowing people to practice their own religion rather than discriminating against another group. So this is who, as I said, was in control of the Middle East during World War I.